Kazakhstan, 30 years of independence. We were once part of a single country, and we were once close neighbours, the 15 republics of the Soviet Union. Much has changed since 1991, but one thing has remained unchanged. We are still close neighbours today. What is the history behind these relationships? What is the current situation, and what are our plans for the future? How do people in our countries live and interact with one another? Kazakhstan and its neighbours in a special Qazaq TV project, Close Neighbours. Enjoy the stunning natural beauty. There are many sights to see in Armenia. Encounter sacred relics. A holy spear has been kept here since the 1st century. Taste Churchill's favourite tipple. In 1945, it was adopted as an alcoholic drink for diplomats. Experience familiar flavours. This is our bihbihik. It looks like a bağırsak. And speak of all the things that bring us together. The first thing that springs to mind when they say the word Kazakhstan, the first thing, that's friendship.
Казахстан как страна, уже 30 лет как независимая страна.
Kazakhstan, like Armenia, has been an independent country for 30 years and has developed really well, and it's clear for all to see. Moreover, it can be seen not only in our relationship with one another, but also with the wider world. And Kazakhstan has now become a really good partner for Armenia.
Казахстан сейчас очень хороший партнер для Армении.
Partners in business, politics, culture, the list is long. And friendships are close, despite the distance.
Сәлеметсіз. Арменияға қош келдіңіз.
The Republic of Armenia is a state in the north of Western Asia, in the northeastern region of the Armenian highlands. It borders with Georgia, Iran, Turkey, and Azerbaijan. Its territory covers 29,743 kilometers squared, making it 138th in the world. Its population, as of April 1st, 2021, was almost 3 million people. The capital is Yerevan. The monetary unit, the Armenian dram. Diplomatic relations between the Republic of Armenia and the Republic of Kazakhstan were established on August 27, 1992. First and foremost, I would recommend just spending a day in Yerevan. What sights there are there, because our capital is very colorful. Yerevan. Houses with a rosy hue, lined with volcanic ash. Welcoming leafy streets, bustling with life, do their best to distract you from your work. One cannot resist taking a stroll alongside the cascading waters and taking snapshots against the backdrop of delectable sculptures. These works of art are a clue. The local delicacies are not only incredibly tasty, but also packed with calories, which makes the climb to the observation deck a good way to burn them off. It's a pity that we didn't manage to see Ararat. Mount Ararat is part of modern Turkey, and this prime symbol of Armenia is closest to the ancient monastery Khor Virap. The aesthetic beauty of an ancient temple. It was with this that the history of Christian Armenia began, and there is a great view from the observation deck. The distance from the ancient Armenian capital that was located on these hills to the newest Kazakh capital is 4,000 kilometers.
Несмотря на то, что мы очень далеко.
Despite the fact that we're so geographically distant, I don't believe that this prevents us from strengthening and promoting our relations.
Укреплять наши отношения и продвигать наши отношения.
Over the last 3 decades, a high level of political, trade, economic, cultural and humanitarian dialogue has been established between Armenia and Kazakhstan. To put it more simply, we have always had and will have extremely friendly and warm relations.
Недавно прошла межправительственная комиссия.
Recently, an intergovernmental commission was held in Nur-Sultan where I and Mr. Sultanov, Minister of Trade and Integration of Kazakhstan, are co-chairs, and we mapped out an action plan to revitalize trade between the two countries.
Наметили план действий, чтобы оживить торговлю между двумя странами.
The plan is to revive trade in all spheres, from services to goods, mechanical engineering, food, chemical products. Distilled alcoholic drinks, jewelry, gas, water and electricity meters are delivered from Armenia to Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan imports to Armenia include pork, yogurt and kefir, electric batteries, plastic products, furniture, cheese and cottage cheese.
По итогам прошлого года, несмотря на пандемию...
Last year, despite the pandemic and the global economic crisis, bilateral trade grew by 30% and amounted to more than $15 million.
И составил более 15 миллионов долларов США.
And this is far from the limit. According to only a preliminary analysis, the potential of our economic cooperation is at least 10 times higher. The figures have been released and they show that this trade turnover can be increased to 200 million. Officials believe that there is huge untapped potential here. It's always been possible for us to reach agreements, be it at the negotiating table or over a meal. After all, it is the Armenians who are considered to be the creators of the drink that contributes to the peace process. Cognac is yet another symbol of Armenia. It is said that Stalin offered the cognac to Winston Churchill and he really liked it, and he even had several bottles sent to him each year. In recent years, Kazakhstan has become an important market for Armenian brandy, making it the 4th largest importer. The barrels are stored in long, seemingly endless tunnel-like corridors. Everything here is literally saturated with the spirit of cognac. A certain amount of alcohol evaporates from each oak container, and these vapors are called, poetically, the angel's share. Look at these gigantic scales, this pan. We had a tradition. A president would sit on one pan while the cognac was placed on the other, and this way they were gifted their weight in cognac. Each barrel, except for those on the scales, are given a digital passport. The digital passport of each container shows which batch of spirits are stored in it. This is done because more than a dozen varieties of grapes are used for the production of Armenian brandy. Here are some unique notes. When a composer hits 7 notes, they create unique compositions. The blending master takes various grades and vintages and blends them to create a unique bouquet. However, the main secret of this bouquet is the sun, earth and water of Armenia. You can drink water straight from the street in special fountains. The familiar Armenian name has Kipchak roots. This spring is called Bulbulak. It seems to me that we have a lot in common. We love family, both Armenians and Kazakhs are very hospitable, love guests, meet and treat them well. The last portion is always given to the guest, so that they are pleased. If you dig beneath the surface in terms of geography, linguistics and history, you can find yet more similarities. This apparently explains the traditional friendly relations between Armenia and Kazakhstan. And what of these historical ties? One of the top 5 must-see places in Yerevan is the Mesrop Mashtots Institute of Ancient Manuscripts, or Matenadaran for short. Behind the massive door is not just a kingdom, but a whole paradise of books.
У нас в музее 8 залов.
We have 8 halls in the museum, 6 on this floor and 2 on the first, where old printed books and archival documents are exhibited. Currently, 18,500 handwritten books are kept in the Matenadaran.
500 рукописных книг.
Amongst the local favorites are Alisha Navoy, a Chinese papermaking instruction, very reminiscent of comics, medieval cards, a miniature of a skull, and a collection of Kipchak psalms.
Важным историческим и культурным.
Ancient Armenian Kipchak manuscripts are part of the important historical and cultural heritage between our countries.
Письменные памятники.
Вот эта рукопись.
This is the 16th century manuscript by Lusik Sarkovac. Here, for example, we see a grammatical dictionary of verbs. It comes with an Armenian translation, together with the Armenian and Kipchak alphabets. In 2018, the Mesrop Mashtots Matenadaran and the National Center for Manuscripts and Rare Books of Kazakhstan signed a Memorandum of Cooperation. Its main goal is to preserve the cultural heritage.
Консульство Казахстана вместе с посольством Казахстана в Армении подарили.
The Consulate of Kazakhstan, together with the Embassy of Kazakhstan in Armenia, unveiled a set of restoration workbenches. The book covers feature a lot of handmade luxury jewelry, and we provided the modern tools needed for the work.
Еще больше современный инвентарь, скажем так, инвентарь и инструменты.
More than a dozen manuscripts in Armenian Kipchak are kept behind the glass on special shelves of the museum and in the archives of Matenadaran. These are cultural and linguistic ties with almost 1,000-year history.
Дело в том, что где-то уже в начале второго тысячелетия
The fact is that already at the beginning of the second millennium, there were many regions where the Kipchak language was the everyday language for Armenians. It's very interesting that after the fall of the Ani kingdom, the Kipchak language moved westward.
Кипчакский через армян, он после падения Анийского царства перешел куда-то на запад.
In Crimea, we have evidence that Armenians began to speak Turkic languages, Crimean Tatar, and also Kipchak. So, having moved to Eastern Europe, having their own legal proceedings, they began to write in Kipchak. They were writing in Kipchak, but in Armenian letters. And what is surprising is that it started overnight. Even the exact date is known. Laws written in Armenian end in 1521, and on August 26, 1521, the first record appeared in the Armenian Kipchak language. To this day, it remains a cryptic detail for historians. For linguists, there is another feature of the Armenian Kipchak language that is considered to be no less mysterious. We have Arab Kipchak written in Arabic characters, and there are Jewish Kipchak manuscripts, but from a phonetic point of view, the Armenian Kipchak language more accurately conveys the phonetics of the Kipchak language and the Turkic language.
Армяно-казахские научные наши, исторические, научные, образовательные вот эти связи, они получили новые.
Scientific, historical and educational ties between Armenia and Kazakhstan were given a new impetus and developed further following independence. In 2010, an agreement was signed in Astana between the two states on cooperation in the field of education and science.
Между двумя государствами о сотрудничестве в сфере образования и науки.
Here is the document that laid the foundation for research work on the Armenian Kipchak literature.
Преподаватели Ереванского государственного университета в сотрудничестве с
Teachers of Yerevan State University, in cooperation with representatives of the Embassy of Kazakhstan in Armenia and professors of Kazakh universities, have published many collaborative works over the last 30 years in Armenian, Russian, Kazakh and English about centuries-old Armenian-Kazakh cultural ties and about the work of Kazakh poets.
О творчестве казахских поэтов.
The oldest university in Armenia celebrated its centenary 2 years ago. It is respectfully known as the Maternal University. Professor Safarian shows us down the path of Abay. A center of Kazakh language, literature and history was opened at the Department of Turkology, and within the framework of this center, I began to study the Kazakh language. There is a Kazakh shanirak on the ceiling. Portraits of the classic figures of Kazakh literature and philosophy adorn the walls, and within the walls of the most striking conference hall of Yerevan University, the words of the great Kazakh poet are heard.
Қалың елім, қазағым, қайран жұртым, ұстарсыз аузын екі мұртын, жақсы менің жаманды айырмадың, бірі қан, бірі мол боп екі мұртын.
Впервые к 175-летию великого Абая.
For the first time on the 170th anniversary of the great Abay, one of the greatest poets and thinkers of the East, an innovative diptych was published in Armenian, Kara Sozder. It was, of course, challenging, but also an amazingly colorful and amazingly joyful work. During the pandemic, this translation of the great Abay has warmed my soul.
Вот в пандемию мне это согревало душу. Перевод великого Абая.
First published in Armenia, Words of Edification, and the second, modern edition of Mukhtar Uyezov's epic, The Path of Abay, will soon become a great addition to this library. Wow, it's even in Armenian. That's amazing. It's already the world's largest repository of Armenian publications, the country's national library.
Мы решили немножко активизировать.
We decided to draw more attention to Kazakh literature, so we moved this collection to a larger reading room.
Этот фонд вот именно в большой читальный зал.
There are numerous books ranging from the recent editions, including Kazakh ones, to the rarities of the Renaissance. About 7 million volumes, at least 2 for each resident. This reverence for literature is felt not only here in the library, but across the country as a whole. Books are considered a great source of national pride. Next year marks the 510th anniversary of the founding of Armenian book printing. The first Armenian book was published in 1512. The first book printed in Armenian Kipchak has also recently turned 400 years old. A considerable number of world firsts are associated with Armenia. Armenians gave the world such things as color television, tomography, the ice cream cone, the ATM, and the MiG supersonic fighter. Armenia was also the first country in the world to have adopted Christianity as the official religion.
С 301 года Святый Ечмиадзинский монастырь.
The Holy Echmiadzin Cathedral was founded in 301 AD, and the first stones of our cathedral were brought from the mountains of Ararat by the king at that time, Tredat, and the patron saint of the Armenians, Saint Gregory the Illuminator.
И просветитель армян, святой Григорий Просветитель.
But it was in Kazakhstan that representatives of all world religions gathered for the first time, says the head of Department of External Relations and Protocol of the Mother See of Holy Echmiadzin, Archbishop Natan Hovhannisyan.
Съезд мировых религиозных лидеров в Казахстане имеет очень большое значение для
The Congress of World Religious Leaders in Kazakhstan is of great importance for humanity. I was the official delegate from our church at the last two conventions, and I saw this atmosphere, you know, when we sit down at one huge round table. Something already obliges us. We sit down to have lunch together and to share a piece of bread together. This also obliges us to unite on a human level.
Пообедать, вместе кусок хлеба поделить, это тоже уже по-человечески обязывает нас.
A leisurely conversation in the main treasury of Etchmiadzin. Church vestments embroidered with gold and pearls, ritual items decorated with filigree and precious stones. 3 more rooms had to be added to hold all the relics.
Есть и уникальная святыня для нас.
There is also a shrine that is unique to us. It is the only one in the world. It has been kept in the Armenian church since the 5th century. It's a piece of petrified wood, said to be a splinter from Noah's Ark.
Частица с Ноева ковчега.
There is another priceless artifact nearby. The holy Gegard spear is said to be the tip of the lance that pierced Christ on the cross. Until the 18th century, this relic was kept in a cave temple. Gegardavank literally means the monastery of the lance. Gegard, Etchmiadzin, Korvirap. There is even a Kipchak monastery. The list goes on. Despite its modest size, 3 times smaller than the smallest region of Kazakhstan, Armenia is brimming with attractions. Our infrastructure is in need of further development in all sectors of the economy, including tourism. And these are, of course, not only ancient temples. The famous Lake Sevan is the second largest high mountain freshwater lake, and there is another monument of nature created by a volcano. The Symphony of Stones, or the basaltic organ. The unusual rocks with a hexagonal cross-section really do resemble a church musical instrument. A miraculous phenomenon. There are many interesting things in Armenia. My friends who come from Kazakhstan are surprised by what they see, and in fact, they're very pleased to take a holiday in Armenia. From a stone extravaganza, we move on to a pagan mystery. The only masterpiece of Hellenistic architecture in Armenia is the Temple of the Sun in Garni. Stunning on the outside, it seems a little somber on the inside. This sanctuary was once decorated with gold. This was not just aesthetic. The reflections from the sun helped in the performance of their rituals. At precisely noon, through a small opening on the roof, the walls were illuminated as though by divine light. Garni remained a living monument of Hellenism. In those distant times, we were influenced by the Greco-Roman civilization, and we're very proud to have been part of that culture. Modern Armenia has been part of the Eurasian Economic Community for almost 7 years. The accession agreement came into force on 2nd of January 2015. One should not forget that we are both in the same process of integration, that is to say, Eurasian integration, and this integration is an absolute priority for Armenia. Kazakhstan, as a member of the Eurasian Economic Community and as a member of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, is a very important country to us. The first president of Kazakhstan was the initiator of the Eurasian Economic Community, and the whole philosophy was based on the fact that the post-Soviet nations should not compete with each other, but should instead help one another develop economically. The digital world is leading the way in terms of this development. Surprisingly, there are over 30,000 software developers from an Armenian population of 3 million. Small countries like our Armenia, where the population's not so large, are quite convenient for pilot projects. Pilot projects help test which approaches are correct and which aren't. A common data system for all the medical institutions in the country has already been tested and is up and running. To put it simply, it's an electronic medical record of every patient.
Врач видит все лабораторные исследования. Врач видит
The doctor sees all the laboratory tests and X-ray studies that were done up to the moment of the visit, and the doctor gets a more transparent and correct picture of the patient's current situation. As you know, there are sometimes small details that can influence a doctor's decision. We have experience of working with Kazakhstan in this very direction.
С Казахстаном у нас есть опыт работы именно вот в этом направлении.
And here's where the digital doctor, Lexis, is being created. An artificial mind that will help to diagnose patients.
Эта система самообучается.
This system is self-learning. It learns from the data. Therefore, it's a form of artificial intelligence, because it calculates and makes decisions while continuing to learn. But this is not an assistant for the patient, it's an assistant for the doctor. And now over to loftier technologies. So lofty in fact that they can only be seen through a telescope. The Crystal Eye, the Buyurakan Observatory. It was once one of the largest observatories in the Soviet Union. And it was also here that the first international conference dedicated to possible contact with extraterrestrial civilizations took place. This connection has not yet been established. But speaking of close neighbours,
Мы в тесном сотрудничестве с Институтом астрофизики Казахстана имени Фисенкова.
We are in close cooperation with the Fisenkov Institute of Astrophysics of Kazakhstan. The staff and the director of the institute have arrived and we jointly organized a symposium called Big Data in English.
Организовали симпозиум, который по-английски так назывался Big Data, большие данные.
And here's some data on bigger plans. Over the next 5 years, all the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union, including Armenia and Kazakhstan, will work to create a joint space agency. The golden sand of time, our common past, present and future. All details were created by hand, including the spheres and the golden sand. Modern technology preserved from ancient times.
Мы с Казахстаном работаем уже больше 10 лет.
We've been working with Kazakhstan for more than a decade. We studied similarities, motivations and national symbols for an extended period. There were some very interesting findings.
Были очень интересные вещи.
Develop a sketch, think over features and finishes. The ability to work with stone, no matter what kind of stone, granite or diamond, it's part of the Armenian DNA. Prototype, casting, machining and sanding to perfection. The best jewelers in the world are the lords of the rings, the kings of cufflinks, and even the lords of time. In Kazakhstan, they attach great importance to national designs, national jewelry, and family traditions. They want to create products that will be passed down from generation to generation, not forgetting their roots.
Добродушный народ в том отношении, что
They are good-natured people, in the sense that they just want to live in peace, coexist with all their peoples and neighbours. And, as it were, the approach of Kazakhstan in the world on the whole, it's very positive.
Подход Казахстана в мире в целом, да, очень такой позитивный.
How can you not reciprocate when all that is said about Kazakhstan is so complimentary, sincere, and from the heart? It's impossible to tell you everything about Armenia in half an hour, but falling in love with it at first sight is easy. Kazakhstan. 30 years of independence. A new look at a long-standing relationship. Sacred Mount Ararat, a volcanic organ, a cognac symphony, and ancient manuscripts in the Armenian Kipchak language. Armenia and Kazakhstan share a close relationship in a special Qazaq TV project, Close Neighbours.